So what makes you think you can locate my 4x4?
My box says VD, trust me.
Your what?
VD, vibrational detection.
Then it must be able to pick up this guy as well.
No, members of our force were taught to avoid VD.
I got a question over there.
Hi there, my name's Jamie Johnson from the Telegraph in London. It's a question for Richard Madden. I'm not sure if you're a betting man at all, but your odds have shortened to 2-1 to take over from Daniel Craig as the next James Bond. Now, I only bring this up because you wore the signature white tuxedo and pulled it off very well, may I say, last night. It's a done deal, isn't it?
This Organized Chaos podcast is brought to you by Gems Art Studio. Gems Art Studio is an online store that allows access to prints that you can use for most anything, obviously as just a picture, or as a wallpaper, or as a bookmark, or anything you can think of. You can find Gems Art Studio at etsy.com/shop/Gems Art Studio. This podcast is also brought to you by listeners like you. Thank you. All right, but yeah, we have James Bond movies to pitch. So, Bobby, what is your pitch for James Bond 26?
All right. Well, I'm going to call this one Through the Ashes. Casting Richard Madden as the lead. The female interest will be played by Rose Leslie and will be Gary Oldman. Moneypenny will be Nathalie Emmanuel. Q will be John Boyega. The Prime Minister of Britain will be played by Simon Pegg. Felix Leiter will be played by Mark Ruffalo. All right, since this one's going to use a lot of bad guys attacking the U.S. Naval or the U.S. Navy and utilizing a Navy ship, there's going to be a couple of naval officers in here. The first U.S. naval officer is a admiral who will be named Glenn Thomas. He will be played by Jeffrey Combs. The Secretary of Defense, General William Hawkins, will be played by the Chin, Bruce Campbell. It's also going to feature a U.S. President, Howard Richards, played by Brad Dourif, and in a surprise quick cameo role, Tiger from You Only Live Twice. He will be portrayed by Ken Watanabe, as well as 008, Peter Barnes, portrayed by Tom Hardy. Now, the two primary naval people are going to be Naval Captain Frank Pine, played by Aaron Eckhart, and Naval Lieutenant, who will be played by Jack Quaid. Now let me just tell you about the baddies, and then we're going to get into it. For High Command Officer 1 will be played by Timothy Spall. High Command Officer 2 will be played by Gwendoline Christie. There is a special agent. There's an Agent Ava Davies, an Agent Sean Davies, and an Agent Lily Davies. All respectively, 1 will be played by Keira Knightley, 2 Martin Freeman, 3 Freema Agyeman. And there is a voice from the past, or a past character, Thorne Cronston. He will be played by Toby Jones. There's also some more faces from the past that are going to be in this movie. Starting with Sarah Monga, played by Cillian Murphy, Dr. No, John Chow, Red Grant, Till Schweiger, Rosa Klebb, Lena Headey, Emilio Largo, Hugo Weaving, and Ernest Elstavo Blofeld will be portrayed once again by Christoph Waltz. Now, this movie is going to start somewhere off the coast of Japan, kind of where the end of You Only Live Twice took place, that hollowed-out volcano. We're going to see a drone flying around inside, kind of scanning the area, clearly surveying it. A little bit behind them, we're going to see a team of 3 people, the babies. One will be controlling the drone via a laptop, or a tablet, rather, and the other two will be inspecting the air, like taking guard with guns, patrolling. By the look of it, this looks like the first time anyone has stepped foot inside the base since that last bottle. Now, they find an area where the drone stops, and it kind of alerts them to a wall. They kind of start tapping on it, realize that it's a false wall. They move it back. They walk up to a little control thing. They all three put a key in it and turn in unison. The voice of Thav Kronstein comes over a PA. He says, "Greetings. If you are hearing this, either we have been compromised or Operation Phoenix has begun. In this first phase, we will need new leadership. In the cryo chamber, you will find blood, skin, hair, saliva, plasma samples of our most prized assets and top operatives. Photos of Blofeld, Largo, Kleb, Dr. No, Red Grant, and Scaramanga appear on screen. With our incubation chambers, full-grown adults will be ready in just 4 hours." One of the Spectre agents radios back, says, "Head command. The match is struck. Bring in the landing party." We see a team of Spectre agents come in and set up shop inside of the base. We see a U.S. naval patrol ship in the Pacific Ocean just doing their daily routine of sailing. See a young guy, Jack Quaid, on the radar, kind of see some weird activity coming from the general area where the base is. He calls the CO over, his commanding officer, Aaron Eckhart. Take a look at the bridge. They start to, before they even notice anything, the naval ship is under attack by a Spectre submarine. Some men are killed, but the remaining ones, including the captain and them, are all taken hostage. All right. We're going to go to MI6, and then quickly we go to MI6, where we see somebody walking down the hallway, bringing in a box of files to an office where we see a man sitting in a chair. We hear a voice say, "Here they are, M," and then thank him, saying it's Moneypenny. M tells Moneypenny that she needs to that they need to get James Bond in here immediately. We could go to Boston, Massachusetts, where we see a guy trying to scale in to break into a building, into a small warehouse. He gets in there. You see him. We follow him all the way to the office, ducking and dodging security guards as he goes. Once he finally gets to the main office, he's able to crack the safe, gets what he needs, and escapes without any issue. As he's escaping, we see lights come on everywhere, and sirens go off. We hear James walk into scene, talking to him as he's standing there on a wall, and he's asking, "What did he do wrong?" The guy responds he doesn't know, and he told him to look to his right, and he sees that he is on camera. We then see James turn, talking to a group of people about the proper ways of making sure to always cover your tracks. We see that James is actually teaching a private security class. Lon walked away from MI6. He just decided to leave, and he didn't want any more, so now he's teaching this. In the background of the class, he sees Felix standing there, smiling at him. He ends the class early, and he goes and decides to have plans to meet up with Felix and catch up. At dinner, Bond arrives. He gets to what he thinks he's there early, but he doesn't think anything twice because he's going to meet an old friend. He finds out that Felix and the party are already here. He kind of just thinks that's odd, so he's shown to the table, and he gets there. He's seated. He is surprised to see that there is the Secretary of Defense, as well as the Navy Admiral sitting next to Felix, and he says, "James, there's something serious. We need your help." And before James can even a phone comes in to the room saying, "Mr. Bond, there's a phone call for you," and it's MI6. Washington, D.C. James, Felix, the Naval Admiral, and the Secretary of Defense are all in the White House awaiting the president. The president walks into the room, and he enters with M, and the men all sit down and watch a video that was sent to the media just moments before this meeting, where it is the head command of Spectre 1 telling that they have the naval ship in them, and they will be in contact again with their demands. But in the background, they're doing panning shots of the video of all the naval officers. The president stands up and says, "That's my son." And they all know, and the rest of the men look at each other and realize that this mission took a more serious turn. We go to Monterey, California, where M and 007 are entering a base, or are boarding a ship, where they meet up with Q. Q's gadgets are the Aston Martin with all the BMW bells and whistles, cufflinks that launch micro drones, 4 on each arm, and plastic explosives as well. He has that badass watch from GoldenEye, and Little Nelly 2.0. It's pretty much the same thing as Little Nelly, but it just fits 2 people. And so, as 007, the naval admiral, Felix, and a small naval crew board a small ship towards Japan. They land in Japan, and they're using an old safe house of tigers. And they start to plan the rescue mission. While they're out on surveillance, Bond is surveying some drone footage that was taken earlier by one of the naval men. He sees a figure standing in a shadow like a silhouette, and he kind of just thinks, that's odd. It looks familiar, but I don't think. And yes, sorry, my mouse moved and I lost my place. Okay, there it is. Later that night, while on the island, while close to the island, surveying it, they hear a faint noise behind him. Bond is there alone. He turns around, and it's one of the Davies siblings. They punch him out, knock him out cold. By the time that James comes to, he's in a room tied to a chair, and just one light facing on him. The door opens, and Red Grant walks into him and punches him really hard, like talks to him a little bit. He's shaking his head, not sure like what he's seeing, like thinking he's seen a ghost. He punches him really hard, and Bond is out cold again. He later wakes up in that same room with a very similar setup with a screen and a shadowy figurette there. But he knows the voice. It's the voice of Amelia Largo. And Bond says, it's like, I think I know what you're about to say. And then the voice responds with, "Oh, my dear Bond, you haven't even started to know anything at all." Later he's dragged out and thrown into a cell where he meets a woman by the name of Laura Tompkins. Tompkins is a reporter and a photojournalist. She was detained for trespassing on the island and recording illegally, pretty much. They just detained her because they figured she was up to no good. They also destroyed all of the camera gear that she had, as well as killed the entire film crew she had with her. After about 14 hours, James hears a faint whisper coming from the vent. It's 008, Peter Barnes. He informs James to avoid the east wall in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As a door-shaped hole breaks through the wall and creating an exit for them, they leave, and as the guards break into their cell to try and fire and stop it at them, the same door facing Batarang blasts open a foam padding that imprisons the guards in a safe padding inside the old prison cell, making it so that they all can't escape. As they're trying to hide and get away from them, 008 is discovered by the guards and is captured. James and Laura escape on their boat and ride back. They have a conversation, and as they're over there, James realizes that she's just no dainty girl. Now, this is something where I'm just going to kind of break and talk about. I wanted to try and do something different with the Bond girl this time. Now, they've tried a lot of different stuff in the past, but I find whenever they try and build them as somebody who's really bad and tough, like they always kind of at some point kind of become a little bit of a bumbling fool with a weapon in their hand. And it's something that kind of annoys me, because if they're going to build a character like that up, why even do that if they're not going to be able to fully execute? Now, sometimes they have not done that. Like they did that with Tomorrow Never Dies. But I just kind of want it to be like, we're going to set the expectation for what you think this character will be, and then completely change your mind on it. So in this conversation, they find out that, yeah, she's been doing photography for years. You know, she did a lot of photo war journalism, was in combat, taking photos in the midst of battle a lot of the time. Growing up, she was a competitive sharpshooter. And Bond is like very shocked and taken back by this. He kind of first calls bluff. And, you know, they're in a gallery eating on this small little naval ship. She takes a straw and a napkin. Bond sets a cup up on the other side. She closes her eyes, turns towards it, and shoots, and takes the cup out. So Bond is impressed. He's like, oh, okay. You're good. All right. As they're escaping, they find a small camp where they have where two guards that captured 008 have him. Bond and Laura both dispatch the guards with ease. Right at that moment, they see a small boat, a small kind of boat coming in, a small dinghy, sorry. And it's Felix and Tiger. They're here to get them out and get them back to Tiger's safe house. They do. They share some more stories and all kind of have a good laugh on the trip back. Back at Tiger's safe house, they're greeted by the Secretary of Defense with some real news. Spectre hijacked a full worldwide broadcast demanding money and introducing the world to the reincarnated Blofeld, Klebb, Dr. No, Grant, and Amelia Largo and Saramonga. And they inform the world of their sinister plans, saying they're going to hold every major city hostage, threaten of nuclear war, and just killing everybody. And they're also holding a special ransom for the United States. This will all be changed if the United States pays. So if the U.S. doesn't pay, the rest of the world will die. They have to pay for every head that is on that naval ship that they seized. Every human being, dead and alive. The higher the rank, the higher the price. Yeah. So after we see the broadcast go and the world react to it, before the broadcast ends, the Secretary of Defense gets a call. It's the president telling him to use every aspect of the military to make sure that we can get our men back alive. We go back to the volcano base. And we see Spectre having a meeting with Blofeld sitting at the head. He's congratulating everyone on a successful Operation Phoenix. And at the end, they're all having a great, joyous moment. We hear Blofeld sharply ask Spectre, Head Command 1, how long were you going to keep the chemical compound a secret from the table and keep it for yourself as a failsafe? Before he can respond, he is choked with piano wire by Red Grant. Head Command 2 is promoted to number 1 and advises her not to have the same carelessness as her predecessor. We then see the Davies siblings monitoring a control room. Well, the two of them monitoring a control room, while Lily Davies is torturing one of the crew members just for her own and her siblings' enjoyments. After this, we see break-in. We see the rest of the team, our heroes, James Bond, the British Navy, Tiger's Army, as well as a shit ton of U.S. troops, all planning a big rescue mission, and they pretty much just recreate the ending of You Only Live Twice, only they completely destroy everything. The final showdown after while this big battle is ensuing, because our heroes strike immediately after that announcement. Don't even give them a chance to enact their plan. During the final battle, Blofeld and Klebb and Grant are all making their escape while having the admiral and the lieutenant held captive. At some point, Bond has them, and he's telling them to let them go. Let them go. We see the lieutenant push Klebb off a ledge, falling to her death. They all kind of stop and look at him, but we also see that the lieutenant has her pistol. He turns to the naval admiral and shoots him in the head, and then he points his gun at Bond, informing him that he helped them all. He found the old file, and he helped get all of this up. So it was the president's son who helped all of this take place. So they have Bond throw his weapon down, leave him in an incomparable situation as they escape. Tiger and the rest save him, and Bond is able to thwart their plans and their escape, killing all of them in the end with an explosion. And that's that's the gist of it.
All right, I believe you had me sold with Bruce Campbell, so I had to follow that one up.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Again, this is all like a lot of it what I had. I'm going to defend some of my choices. I know some of them I just kind of filled in, and this isn't a fully completed idea.
No, I want. Yeah, it's a pitch.
Yeah, as we were both talking about, admittedly, I did not have the full time I wanted to write with this. But there was a lot of stuff I did. And I mean, I think John Boyega would have been great. And actually, with my original plans, I had stuff that was like I made little notes next to the actors' names of ones who would have ended up living throughout the whole story and everything. I had M dying, 008 dying, Prime Minister dying, the Naval Admiral dying. And, Bruce Campbell got injured. So did Felix. So did Q. And Moneypenny. As well as Laura and James. But, yeah, I did plan for the kid to be the traitor. I planned for that one. I thought that was good. Blofeld got away. Largo died. Kleb, I wanted her to get away in the end. And Grant to get away. Dr. No would die. Yeah, I didn't even do anything with Dr. No or Scaramanga.
Well, this seems like it's a soft reboot revival of the old series.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of more going for like just what I felt they should have done as the true rise of Spectre. And I tried to think of a way like, okay, so let's just say in universe, if I'm going solely off of it's the same agent throughout every James Bond movie, they're all dead. What's the best way to bring them back? Because I'm presuming they all just didn't, like, they're still living Spectre agents. Yeah. They're not going to be like, oh, well, this is done. Yeah. It was fun, guys. See you at the salt mines. Yeah, no, it's kind of like the same philosophy with Inglourious Bastards, which is kind of where it gave me the idea, sort of, where Aldo would always ask, are you going to leave that Nazi outfit off in the closet, or are you going to put it on when you're living over there? Like, yeah. That made me think, like, are they going to do that? No, they're not. They won't. Yeah. So that's where I went with it.
All right. Yeah. No, I am interested. I want go ahead. MGM, go ahead and give Bobby a couple $1 million, make his movie.
Come on. Like, I'll hire Nolan to write it.
There you go.
Just tell him that's what I want. And on one condition, though, I would want one solid condition. The same DP as oh god, I can't even think of it now. The same director of photography from Casino Royale.
Ooh,
just give me him.
All right,
he could achieve what
I think it's time for my pitch. So I put together a pitch myself. I took a very different route. Well, not very different. I totally went down the alternate path. There's really 3 paths you can take. You can do a revival, completely fresh reboot, or a sequel to No Time to Die. And for me, I thought the one with the most potential was a sequel, actually. James Bond is dead. What happens now? I think there's a lot of potential with that idea. I don't have nearly as much written down as Bobby, but I have like basic story ideas, and I have an opening. I'm gonna start out with the basic story ideas. So Spectre is scattered. They're hurting after No Time to Die, but they weren't wiped out as previously thought. They're scattered because they have agents all over the place. And right now, they're looking for James Bond. They've heard that James Bond is dead, but they don't believe it. They think that's all bullcrap. So they're scattered all over, trying to find him out. And as far as MI6 can tell, the head of Spectre is actually this rich billionaire who's actually working on this secret Mars base. He's launching ships into space. I was going to set up so his ship looked a lot like a penis, but I was concerned that'd be too evil villainy, too obviously a villain move. So yeah, we're gonna tone it down a bit. But yeah. But yeah, they're theorizing that this guy's the head of Spectre. He has all this money. And MI6, there's actually a specific person they're after who has a previous history of James Bond that Spectre seems to be going after. And MI6 picks him up. This is a person that's not part of MI6, but Spectre has a special interest in him. So they're going to train up this person. And eventually what MI6 is going to learn is that the name James Bond carries weight with Spectre. They are after James Bond with a fiery passion. So why let him die? Let's have someone else carry on this name. And that brings us to the opening. How do we start this? So, this is going to be the most important part because you got to establish who this new character is. So we're going to start out with no gun barrel sequence. The movie just opens. Fade in, however you want to do it. We're at the front of this fancy hotel, of course. Fancy hotel and casino. Naturally for James Bond. An Aston Martin DB5 pulls up. And out steps, we start at his feet, out steps a well-dressed Henry Cavill. It pans up, we see him. He looks exactly like James Bond. And he goes inside the restaurant, walks up to a bar, orders a martini. Shaken, not stirred. Then he turns out, and he looks at the crowd. Then, apparently to no one, he just says out loud, "You're not very good at this." Next to him, we see Paloma, the CIA agent we saw at the beginning, or not the beginning, but in the last movie, No Time to Die. She worked with Felix. And she looks awkward and surprised. If you remember her character, she's not great at undercover stuff, but when action happens, she is on point. And she's someone you want behind your back. But just like when it's undercover, she's not the best. And she's kind of stumbling about. She drops something. She's like, "What do you mean?" And without looking at her, looking all suave, he's like, "You're clearly over your head here. Who are you?" And she introduced herself. She's Jamie Paloma, CIA. And then he introduces himself. He's Connor Travers, MI5. How long have you been doing field work? Oh, on and off for about 6 months. On and off? Well, this is my second field mission. It shows. She looks him up and down. Are you willing to give me some pointers? And he, of course, raises his eyebrows. Do you have a room? Cut to the room, and they are all over each other. Paloma's back is against the wall. And Henry Cavill, whose name as Connor tells her, "Well, you are not completely without your moves. I've been studying. So where is James Bond?" James Bond is dead. They're still making out. We've heard that story before. Why all this talk of James Bond? Don't you want to be with me? My mission is to find Bond and bring him in. What makes you think I would know anything? He suddenly pulls away and grabs her by the throat, slamming the back of her head to a wall. Spectre is everywhere. James Bond must be brought in to secure his safety, and you were one of the last people to see him. She's now struggling to get the words out. Spectre is dead. I saw them die. Spectre is a ghost. They have agents everywhere. You would sooner catch a unicorn than kill all of Spectre. Now tell me, what do you know? He loosens his grip on her, but still keeps her pinned to the wall. Oh, did I mess this up? Connor Trevelyan, a 006. This is what she's telling him. Connor Trevelyan, a 006 in MI6. Oh, you see, I need to tweak this. I didn't finish tweaking this. Alec Trevelyan, part of MI5, son of Maria and Alec Trevelyan. Grandson of Marcus Trevelyan. Marcus was a well-known Leon Cossack, known to have worked with the Nazis, but attempted to run to the UK only to be executed there. You joined MI5 in an attempt to undermine that organization that unjustly killed your grandfather. You are a prime candidate for Spectre. You seem to know a lot for a clear newbie. Well, I still have a lot of learning to do. There are 2 things I'm skilled at. One of them is research. That research will get you killed. She chuckles. He strengthens his grip around her throat. And she simply says, "You assume you have the upper hand." The confidence and menace in his face is suddenly drained. He looks down. Paloma has stabbed him in the stomach. He moves his hand to stop her, but is too late as she turns the knife. He screams in pain and removes his hand from her throat going for the knife. He falls back a few steps and pulls the knife out. And she simply tells him, "You know your weakness, Connor?" A pretty face. Well, sure. All men have that weakness. So do women, for that matter. But your weakness is your emotion. Right now I can see the anger in your eyes. You are enraged at me and letting your emotion overrule your judgment. You had me, but you let me go, because I stabbed you. With hatred in his eyes, Connor simply looks at her and says, "I assure you, it is not a mistake I'll make again. Tell me, what else are you skilled at?" He pulls the knife from his gut and throws it at her. She barely dodges it. And instantly, he has a gun on her. She kicks out of his hand. He lunges towards her. She barely rolls out of the way, right to where his gun landed. He picks up his backup piece and points it at her. Right as she picks up the gun, and we get the gun barrel sequence with Paloma. And that's kind of my idea of how to introduce a new James Bond with a character we already have in canon, and kind of a little bait and switch at the beginning with Henry Cavill, obviously filling in the role, but not actually. But the idea of kind of like the legend of James Bond still living on. I don't know. I just think there's potential with the current universe that's already built up. I wouldn't want to do a whole fresh reboot. So honestly, if I were doing a Bond movie, I'd want to do some sort of sequel where he's dead, or maybe even Bobby's idea where it's a revival.
Yeah, I mean, or even do a combination of the two.
Yeah,
where,
yeah.
Like, we take your Bond and just replace it with mine.
Hey, potentially.
I like that. I really like that as an opening to it. I mean, but I don't know. I felt really strong about that opening sequence I wrote. I thought that was just the most, like, I tried to think of how a lot of those old Connery ones opened.
Yeah.
And how they had you see the element of danger right away. We see the bad guys acting out their plan, and then we just do a clip, like go to a shot of Bond, or even the fake out one with From Russia with Love.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it varies.
But
it varies with those dangerous scenes.
But I really do like that. I like that idea. Mm-hmm. That bait and switch right at the beginning.
Oh yeah. Well, you got to introduce
nice.
with an obvious Bond stand-in, if nothing else.
So, the one actor I picked for Red Grant, that was one that I kind of had a real tough time casting. Mm-hmm. At first, I picked Tom Hardy just out of the sake of it, and I was thinking, like, well, what if I want Tom Hardy to be a good guy, and I don't want him to be a bad guy? And I know he could play a bad guy very well. Like, I know that. But I just kept thinking more about it, and I picked Till Schweiger. He was Hugo Stiglitz from Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, sure.
But I knew him from a movie called SLC Punk, where he played a guy named Mark. That's what I originally knew him from. But I did some research on just to see if he's, has he done any more American films? Or that's pretty much the ones other than just background actor as, like, action movie. I think he was in, like, a few Bruckheimer ones. I think he was in The Rock as a background thug.
Oh, sure.
But him, I just thought, like, yeah, if there's going to be anyone that I wanted him to be a bit bigger build than my Bond, Richard McFadden.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, he was, because Red was a little bit bigger, because Robert Shaw was a bit stockier than Sean Connery. And Robert Shaw played him originally.
You know, I didn't even think about. So I didn't even go over my cast. I might do that in the story. So
Sorry, yeah.
Just real quick, I don't have that many roles really plotted out. I definitely am bringing back when Ben Whishaw. No, there's no K in there. Ben Whishaw as Q. He's going to be the agent of MI6 who kind of picks her up kind of early on. Not because he's a field agent, but because he's nearby. And of course, we're going to have a little adventure with them. Her primary partner from MI6 will be 004, as played by Idris Elba. And the villain, the rich guy with the not penis rockets, because that's too obviously villainy. I'm envisioning Josh Brolin for that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with that. And
I know that with mine, I did kind of accidentally go a little Game of Thrones heavy with the casting.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, there are a fair amount. Well, what's this?
There are, yes.
Who else was there?
Let's see. I could read them all to you. Richard Madden.
Yeah.
Rosie Leslie. Yeah, Rose Leslie. The Wildling. The You Know Nothing Jon Snow. Let's see here. Lena Headey.
Oh, that's right. You did have her. You had a lot of cast, though.
Gwendoline Christie. Yeah, and Gwendoline Christie. Timothy Spall was a choice that I was happy with. And did I say Dr. No would be John Chow?
No, I don't recall. I don't recall Jeffrey Combs either, so...
Yeah, Jeffrey Combs was the Navy Admiral.
Okay.
I thought,
well,
that would
more
be a perfect
Jeffrey
role.
Combs is always better in my book, so...
Well, yeah, him and Bruce.
Yeah.
Oh, and they would butt heads.
Yeah.
And it would just be like comedic gold.
Yes.
I would just tell them both, like, guys, just friendly ribbing, but like try to pull rank with each other. But since you're both at different divisions, rank doesn't really matter.
Yes.
And Brad Dourif as the president, because I that man kid is great. And a very, very underrated actor. Yeah,
Brad Dourif can. I don't know if I want to say he could do anything, but he's never a bad addition to any movie. Period.
No, and I've had this argument with people and how they just don't think that, because I say it and usually they'll go, "You mean the guy from Chucky, the guy who does his voice? Name something like Sear. Other than that, he's done." I just deadpan look at him. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Oh, he wasn't in that. He was Billy Bibbit. You want to tell me that guy doesn't have range?
No. I don't know anybody who'd ever criticize Brad Dourif in a movie. That I would think you're insane.
Yeah. Simon Pegg, I feel that he would fit very well into that. And if I was going to try and kind of recreate that era of Bond, because those are the movies that I really just loved the best. Mostly just aesthetically. I mean, the misogyny shit I could deal without.
Yeah, of course.
That shit was not going to be in there, and I tried to make it at a point not to write that he and Laura slept together at all. Well, and I kind of wanted to make him an equal, like his equal.
Well, you even brought up the how you end up with these Bond girls. I swear to God, they seem like they're fairly competent, and then they can't handle anything. I think say like Diamonds Are Forever was the one that I want to say that one bugged me.
That actually, when I was writing about her, I was watching clips from various action sequences, and it was that one scene where she just doesn't know how to hold a machine gun when she seemed perfectly capable. And it was just what?
Yeah, it's like, okay,
why?
I feel like they write so many of the female characters like, okay, once James Bond shows up, you're useless. What?
No. Like his magnetism causes it. Like, what the hell is that?
I mean, it's the same thing that Men in Black 2. As soon as Tommy Lee Jones shows up, Will Smith is an idiot all of a sudden, when he was perfectly competent throughout the rest of the movie.
Now, truth be told, I had a harder time picking the villains than I did the good guys.
Well, villains, especially if you're trying to go outside James Bond, so many people have done that one.
Like, I tried even writing. I first wanted to put Lena Headey as M. I thought she would give, but I kind of also at the same time was like, would that be more or less like, I'm giving like, and I was gonna hit you up. I was like, can I pick dead actors?
Because someone who popped up in my head, who I'd love to see be a Bond villain, who unfortunately can't, would be Christopher Plummer.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean.
If I could have, he would have been Blofeld. Because that would
be epic, man.
But for Emilio Largo, I picked Hugo Weaving, and I thought that was
sure
perfect. Yeah. For the Spectre High Command, who ends up getting killed, Timothy Spall.
Oh well, yeah.
Because I mean, yeah.
He's a great actor,
but he's in it for himself.
Yeah.
He may be bad for the cause, but he's in it for himself.
And you never feel bad to see him die.
I totally.
I'm sure he's a great guy, but
I totally Harry Pottered him, and I will admit that.
Oh yeah,
I totally did. Because I was even thinking about it. It's like, well, I want one of the high commands to like betray Blofeld, not necessarily give up to the Allies, but do something not in the interest of Spectre, causing him to die.
God, okay.
I was like. And I asked my wife, like, hey, who was the actor who played, like, Scabbers? That guy. Like, who was that?
Speaking of deceased actors that should have been Bond villains, Alan Rickman. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. And, Lena Headey as Rosa Klebb. Because I was thinking, like, I just don't want to put Rose in that type of role, I think she's so much better than that. She could do more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And, the more I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, but she really was such a bitch as Cersei.
Yeah, she was.
She was such an ice cold bitch as Cersei, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah.
She would be great as Klebb if she has that, and it was like a little bit more of her character in Doom, or not Doom, but the remake of Dread.
Oh, sure, God.
Yeah, if it was like that, but like she could be that like physical too with it, but with the meanness of Cersei Lannister. John Chow. I want to see him play a bad guy. I've seen him play a comedic bad guy. I want to see him play a ruthless bad guy. And I think he could be...
Where did he play bad guy at all?
Wasn't he the bad guy in like that... I want to say he was in Scott Pilgrim and he played one of the bad guys.
No, I don't think so.
It was some young teen thing where he was in it. I might be thinking of something else.
I might be brain farting too.
I know I am too, but I'm probably mistaking him for another actor, which is horrible of me. But I still though I'd like to see him play a bad guy. I think he could do it.
I think he could do
Sulu, yeah.
I mean, have you seen, going off point here? But have you seen the production photos for Cowboy Bebop?
Yes, I have.
I'm not gonna lie, that looks amazing.
Fucking awesome, yeah. For the Davies, I made these like siblings, and I wrote like a little backstory for them. They're all three from like a smaller like area in England that were all orphans due to a previous Bond fight that took place in England, and some of the destruction caused, leaving these three different kids from different families orphans, all adopted by a family who were operatives of Spectre, the Davies. Because there's a Freema Agyeman. She was Martha on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And Martin Freeman, because, again, I want to see him play a bad guy.
Yeah.
He kind of did in At World's End. He kind of was at World's End.
A bit. Yeah, technically not, but like at the end, yeah.
Yeah. And, and Keira Knightley, because I also think she could play a really good bad person.
Yeah.
And, Cillian Murphy, he's a good bad guy.
He's one of those guys who can pretty much do anything. He's kind of entering that point where he's pretty good. He's pretty good anywhere.
And I thought if there was any Bond role that I could recast him as, would be Scaramanga.
Yeah.
He could do it. He could be that cold and calculating. I just think of his performance in Red Eye.
I have not seen Red Eye actually. So.
Oh, that's a good suspense one.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And for Tov Kronstein, I kind of Hansed him like Winter Soldiered, or not Winter Soldiered, but yeah, Winter Soldiered him. Like, the consciousness in the computer.
Oh, okay.
Because he's the voice of Tov.
Yes,
so,
yes, I saw that. Yeah.
What was the name
of this character?
He was a doctor.
Yeah.
Hair doctor.
Yes. Fuck, what's the name of the character? I know the character. It's like name. Famous Marvel character. Armin Zola.
Armand Hanzola, yep.
But yes, so we did a little something different for the podcast. Let us know what you think. Let us know, like, if you could mix and match our pitches, what would you want?
Or you could tell us how badly we screwed it up.
Yeah, that's, I mean, we all know in the comments. They will. They will. I want to go ahead and add some audio credits at the end here. The theme music you're hearing at the beginning and end of this podcast was written and performed by George Johnson, a very good friend of mine. And my current Patreons are Fel Martins, David Lara, and Lindsay Pankhurst. If you'd like to become a patron, go ahead and follow the link down below. Anything you can provide would be incredibly helpful to this channel. We're barely limping by right now. I'd love to make this my full-time job. I'm miles away from that right now. So any help you could provide, just $1 a month would be amazing. You know you want to. All your friends are doing it.